3-1 is the score. Alpha X versus Team Liquid. Welcome, everybody. I am TitanOnFire. This is the Alpha X YouTube channel. I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible, of course, with these casts, as usual, because I am a professional. And that's how we do it. But, so far, it's been pretty close. The 2-0 from Ragnarok is what has really set Alpha X ahead. Other than that, I mean, Classic versus Kelzer went 1-1. And so now Zoun is in a position where you have to win one game, and Alpha X will go up 2-0 in the World Team League Summer. Of course, we'll tie them there with Team Envy, who's also at 2-0. Would be quite a good result. As for Team Liquid, Clem's got to get the 2-0. He's got to win both these games, send it to an ace match, and then probably be sent out to win a third, just for the chance to get the win in this series. It's a hard ask, because while Clem's TVP is good, and I think Clem's TVP is actually one of his best matchups, I would probably put it up there with his TVZ. If not actually better. I think in interviews, Clem has stated that he's more confident in his Terran versus Protoss than his other matchups right now. It's definitely possible that Clem can get that 2-0. However, on the other side, placing down a pylon across the map, most likely for that proxy Stargate, is Zoun. And he is a Protoss that really made his name off of having incredible TVP. You know, for Zoun, it hasn't really been like his PvP is super crazy. Like at one point, I believe it was Classic, had incredible PvP. You know, it's not like the TVZ of someone like Hero who's pulling out a ton of crazy, interesting builds and different ways to approach the matchup. It was really his TVP, where he was approaching it from a very macro-oriented viewpoint and managing to get wins against the top-level Terrans just through macro, and it was something really, really crazy with how well he was able to do just with that alone. And so this is a matchup that I think can really go either way. There's definitely the possibility that Clem can get that 2-0. If he wins this game one, if he has the momentum and he starts to really ramp up, if you give Clem the time to get into a comfortable position, then there's absolutely a chance that he'll be able to get this win. And I think that's really the way that we see Clem win in a lot of these TVPs is through the timing attacks. A lot of times Clem will go for very similar builds. He doesn't really... The openings for Clem in every matchup are usually very structured. He likes to stick to what works and what he knows works. Is a nice KD8 charge there to be able to get that Reaper away. As that is a Void Ray on the way for Zoun from the proxy Stargate. Now the Reaper did scout out the main base, so knows that there's something up, is going to scout out this position. So Clem does know the fact that this is a Void Ray, and that's a really big scout for the Terran. Again, the fact the Reaper's able to get in, it's able to scout out the main. Now Clem really has all of the information in his hands. As Adept's going to look to try and collapse on that Reaper. Going to be able to deny it from getting any more scouting information. The Void Ray is here, but there's already a bunker up. It looks like it's going to go straight towards the main base, but a Cyclone also already in position. And again, it's not the Oracle. It's not just going for the harassment damage. Zoun wanted to be a little bit more committed here with this push, but again, with the Void Ray nerfs, you know, it doesn't build as fast. It's a lot harder to make this be as convincing. You see, because it was the Stargate after the expand, it was even slower than before even. But Zoun's gonna keep up with it. A Resonating Glaives is on the way. Scan goes down, and that's just a Void Ray dead. Clem just has enough to fight it, and this is already a very, very bad start for Zoun, who has to recall the Adepts. One getting focused down is gonna be able to survive. But Zoun's going for more of an all-in. It's Resonating Glaives, it's additional gateways, it's a proxy pylon. And Clem's moving across the map. This is not how Zoun was planning for this game to go, and absolutely not how he wanted it to go. 5 gateways! And your opponent is playing completely standard. Your opponent is playing 2 base. You know, with Barracks, with Stimpak coming up, I don't see a world where this works for Zoun. It's a really interesting build. It's certainly a cool idea. But again, it just doesn't hit as fast and as strong as you would need it to really be efficient, especially because Clem was able to get off that early scout with the Reaper. Now just using these Marines to get information, seeing, hey, there's no third base. Clem knows that this is an all-in. As we're going to see Adepts warped in. is just the singular Void Ray with this attack. So, of course, the Cyclones won't be as efficient as 3 Shades do go in, and I like this from Joe. He's trying to bait Clem that there's nothing going on, but Clem knows that there's no third base, and that's plenty enough for Clem to realize that something's up, as the Cyclones are going to scout this out. Now the Glaives are going to try and go in. The bunkers here immediately. We have the worker pull. The Shade is going to complete, but look how much there is for Clem. He already has Stim Pack. It's a surround. It's an absolute massacre. And Zoun, this was not the play that you needed. Immediately the all-in is shut down, and it's just absolutely brutal. I mean, Zoun's going to try and go for more, but again, there's just so much here. There's so many Marines. Medivacs are going to be out soon. Even if you get on top of this army, the DPS is too much. GG, Clem gets the win in game 1. And map number 2, bottom left-hand corner from Alpha X, it is Zoun. And top right, from Team Liquid, looking to tie it up, it's Clem. And I gotta say, that first game, I don't know what the idea is there. Especially against a player like Clem, who is known for playing 2-base. You know, there's never a situation where Clem goes in early third off 1 barracks. That's just not how he plays. He'll have 2 to 3 barracks, he'll have a Stim Pack up before he takes that third. I think it's just not a very well thought out build order from Zoun, and maybe against a player who's more greedy, that works out. Maybe in a situation where he's able to deny scouting, and Clem doesn't scout the fact that there's no tech in the main, doesn't scout there's no third base going down, maybe that works. Maybe it catches the Terran by surprise, and then suddenly, you know, Zoun is able to snowball the game with the Adepts diving on top of the army when it's out of position. But it just felt like a build order that is really reliant on your opponent not doing their due diligence with their scouting and with gathering information. And so, yeah, that was a weird game. Clem manages to get the win. He handles it as perfectly as you can, just realizing that all he needs to do is defend. And that means that now Team Liquid is only 1 map away from tying this up. They're 1 map away from sending it to an ace match. And that is something that you probably want to avoid, you know? I mean, I imagine, of course, that if it goes that way, Ragnarok is sent out, Clem is sent out respectively, and you get a killer TVZ. But is that a risk that you want to take as Alpha X? I don't think so. You're really hoping that Zoun can pull this one through, and you're on to 2,000 atmospheres, which is a very, very standard map. And so I think it plays very nicely into Zoun's strengths. He is a player that absolutely, when it comes to a stock standard TVP, I mean, he can battle it out with the likes of Maru in the late game. And so this is a map that will definitely favor that kind of play style. So we'll see what the build order is going to be here. We have the Twilight Council going down. No Stargate, which is kind of been, I think it's been coming back into popularity in almost every matchup where you just go Stargate first with Phoenix, just to get that map control, to get that early harassment option, as well as the ability to pick off tank units from your opponent if the Terran is going for a tank push and they're not quite aware of their positioning. You can pick off tanks. That has been, I think, an opening that a lot of Protosses have been favoring, but instead it's just going to be the Blink from Zoun. And of course, this is most likely going to be 3 to 4 gate Blink Stalker. Nothing crazy or out of the ordinary, most likely. Although it is completely possible that the Protoss here throws a wrench in those plans, tries to go for something like a 5 gate, which will just be that much more of an all-in. We will see. We will see. Additional gateway is coming down. Blink going to be about a third of the way done at this point. And you're going to be seeing that robotics facility also go down. A big juicy Artosis pylon right in the center of the Protoss base. Will most likely not be an issue unless this game goes into the mid game, where you'll potentially see Clem start to go for those singular drops into the main and the natural, while he's also trying to push the third, which we are seeing go down now for Zoun. So it's not going to be super committed Blink. This is defensive. It's to make sure that your opponent cannot harass you. You'll be able to shut down drops. You'll be able to apply a little bit of pressure across the map and also slow down pushes. if your opponent tries to come across the map with Marines and Marauders, your Stalkers are just faster. You have Blink, and so you can start to pick away at those units. You slow it down, you slow the Terran attack down, and that really makes all the difference. With that being said, though, 4th Nexus isn't actually placed down, just a pylon. 2 more gateways are produced, and it's a Warp Prism on the way. So Zoun, he's not going for that quick third. Instead, is going to wait a little bit, get up a stronger ground army, and go across the map with it to try and find some damage. The medevac is scouted out. Zoun knows that, well, it's sitting right there. That's where it is for sure. Stalkers just can't quite reach that far. Stim is on the way, and for Clem, this is your usual build. You're going to get tanks out to help deal with the Stalkers, going up to 3 racks, so he is going to be looking for around, most likely, a 7-minute timing attack. Where you're going to try and hit with Stim. Not going to be with combat shields, though, is really the big difference between this and most of the usual Terran timing attacks. I think that's because Clem has been prioritizing the tank production, did not get that 3rd racks as early. Because of that, he's now going to be swapping it over in order to get that upgrade, as the tank is still sieging up right now. So Zoun, he's not going to blink it, he's just going to harass this factory, force it to lift off again. Knows that he can't really commit in to the base with that unit there. Just very good awareness so far from the Protoss. Picks off a Marine, is going to have 4 Stalkers in this Warp Prism, and of course that is enough to one-shot the Workers. Is also enough to dive on top of this tank if need be, but is just going to go for the mineral line. Very good spacing here from Zoun so far. Just downrange the tank, get some blinks, find 2 Workers, and then just get on out. You're not going to commit that hard as Zoun. You're just trying to find harassment damage because your 3rd Nexus is on the way. Your Forge is completing, and you have Charge that has just started up. Really, you need to buy time for all of these things to come through. As the Protoss, you need your upgrades, you need your additional tech, such as that +1, such as the Charge, additional gateways. These are all things that you need a little bit of time to get into, and so you're trying to delay the Terran. You're trying to distract them. You're trying to make sure that they really can't do what they want. As the 3rd base completes, this medevac is still hanging out. Clem, there's not really been an opening for him to push that into the natural, as this Warp Prism will finally make its way out. Marines and Marauders not quite in the right position, means that it escapes unscathed. Not even a bit of shield damage on it. The Stalkers are dropped out, and we're finally going to see this push come through for Clem. 7 minutes +1 Stim. And combat shields will be finishing up in about 30 seconds. But we're now going to start to see these Stalkers be a little bit annoying. They're going to harass. Ooh, almost picks off the Marauder. And you're just trying to annoy the Terran at this point, as charge lots are now on the map. Immortal in production. +1 not done quite yet, but I don't think Zoun is really worried about that, as he's just getting Workers in production. Getting Disruptors now out as well, a 4th Nexus on the way, and even setting up harassment with this Warp Prism. Now, Clem does still have units there, as a bit of aggressive push there with the Stalkers. Tank still sieged up at the Zelnaga Watchtower. Clem is going to push this forward, but you have the Immortal, you have the Zealots, and now look at this, a drop into the main. We're going to see a Warping as well, but reinforcements are already here, and I don't think you can commit in. The Warp Prism is going to go down, and Clem has the reinforcements ready. Widowmine doesn't go off. Tanks now sieging forward. Zoun does need to set up a flank in order to help with this, but actually, we're just going to see Clem abandon the position, doesn't even try and push in. An interesting choice there from Clem. Didn't want to risk the chance that Zoun does collapse with his Zealot flank and completely decimate his army, especially when his 3rd base is just now going down, as the medevac being a bit risky, but Zoun didn't have the blink forward. The Workers are going to be pulled. Oh, the target fire not quite there, but even then, 13 Workers end up going down. Massive damage from Clem. He's looking to try and get himself in a good position to potentially win this game. Bit of a risky engagement here. Oh my, that snipe! Clem had 2 tanks still in his medevac. Just goes down, and I don't know if Zoun realizes it, but he's just found himself a massive advantage. As Disruptor Shot's gonna go out, they're gonna be dodged decently well. Only 2 Marines getting caught. Force Field goes down, splits up the army, but it isn't the best. This +1 is now done for this Protoss army, but you have the 1-1 already complete for Clem. Is gonna be working on his 2-2 upgrades soon as that armory finishes up the 4th CC. Less than halfway done. Mind you, Zoun already has his 3rd base up and operational, sitting at 62 workers. We're now going to see as they'll run by. Single Widowmine is there, does a good amount of damage, and the reinforcement should be able to clean it on up. Clem doing a great job of dealing with these little attacks, with these run-bys, with the harassment, having no issue with cleaning it up. As here we go, another Widowmine drop. Cannons are going to immediately be put down. 2 probes potentially sacrificed as the Widowmine's going to try and find its way towards the natural, and that medevac stim on in. That's an exposed disruptor that's just going to go down. Zoun getting split apart right now by Clem, who's looking to try and end this game potentially. He's got so much damage done. That Widowmine shot was great as well. The 7 SCVs go down in the back of this. Another Zealot run by finds its way in. And now Clem has to back on up. He doesn't have the tank count. He doesn't have really the tech with this army. Disruptor shot goes out. Good pickup on the units that were in range of it. As Clem still fighting tooth and nail right now, does not have his 2-2 upgrades even on the way. He's just focusing on unit production. He's trying to get out Ghosts. He's trying to get out as much as he can. Widowmines, but now double Colossus. And there are no tanks. There are no Vikings even. There's nothing to really deny these Colossus from Clem. He's fighting disruptors with bio right now, and that's about it. That is all that he has, and when you add in that second source of splash, it's just going to get even harder for the Terran, who is taking a 4th base. It's +2 attack finishing up for the Protoss. Clem has his own 2-2 on the way, but it's not really as fast as you would like. You're still going to be sitting down an attack upgrade to that +1 armor for the Protoss, who will also finish in good time. CMP goes out. Disruptor shot just manages to snipe a Widowmine. And Zoun just doing such a good job of cleaning up these units that are positioned around the map. The Widowmines as well, and these run-bys are so annoying. 6 more SCVs go down. A blink on top of the medevacs. Clem now has to micro this army back. His army is split. He's trying to defend both bases at once. He doesn't have any splash damage to help anchor this army, as Zoun is just chasing it down. These disruptor shots are massive! As so many ghosts go down, Zoun has split the army, and suddenly it looks like Alpha X is going to take the series. GG! Zoun makes it 1-1, and with that, gets the win for Alpha X.